All right, we're live. Welcome to Wednesday's Real Talk on Real Estate. And ladies and gentlemen, one of the big things I want to talk to you guys today is how you find distressed assets by you in your neighborhood, in the market that you live in. And I wanted to explain to you guys exactly how we actually find our properties. And I'm going to give you guys some resources here as well. So at the end of this video, what I'd like to do is I'd actually like to explain to you guys exactly where we get some of the data from. There's two websites that we actually utilize, and so at the end of this I'll give you those two resources. But let's talk about the process of where you actually find these leads and how you actually take advantage of positioning yourself to benefit from these leads and how you can go out and find them. Okay, now one of the things I've always talked about is I said finding deal flow is bandwidth. The more bandwidth you have, the more strategic you are, the better you're going to do in regards to finding properties. And so everything that we do is all structured 100% around deal flow. And where do you get deal flow from? It's all through networking, ladies and gentlemen. But who do you network with, and how do you get this network to build for you? And one of the big things that I like to talk about is, yes, there's websites that you guys can jump on. But here's the thing with websites, okay, is that if it's already on that website, it's not an off-market deal. Everybody, all your competitors already know about it. Now, there's strategies you can use through these websites that you can still find great deals. Like I'll tell you guys, through these websites that I give you guys resources to at the end of this video, one of the big things that I like is I can find like expired listings. And if I'm purchasing projects with creative financing and I'm looking at doing some owner finance deals on land or even assets, or I'm doing some subject twos where I'm actually taking over someone else's pre-existing loan or doing loan assumptions, I like looking for expired listings because there's something that that seller didn't acquire. Typically it's price. And so there's two variables in every purchase. One is price and two is terms. And if you can't make the price work, but you can make the terms work, sometimes you can make magic between the two, and vice versa. Sometimes you can make the price work, but the terms are so jacked up, the asset that you're looking at is absolutely worthless. Okay, and so like that's exactly what's happening with banks right now, is the fact that, you know, we have incredible deals, but with money being so expensive, the terms that we have, they suck. So we don't want to exercise those terms. So we're looking for more desirable terms. So more so than price right now, because price we're able to get right now. We're able to get great deals on price. But there's projects where if the terms are so bad, you can't even give us the project for free. You can't even give us free land, and we're not even able to make the project go because the land is the more inexpensive piece of the project. So terms and price, those two things are the two variables that make a project either go or die. Okay, so where do you find projects where the price is right and you can do good deal flow? Well, I'll tell you guys, first and foremost, when we used to find distressed asset, the number one thing that my wife and I would do, especially small assets, when you're looking at distress like retail, repositioning of old buildings, if you're looking at like old distressed multifamily, or you're looking at just physically or financially distressed assets, is they're right in your neighborhood. I made millions of dollars. We did over $10 million worth of redevelopment within 4 city blocks from our first home that we lived in for over 18 years. Okay, and how did we do that? Well, we looked at real estate all over the place, but we literally went right down the road because we wanted an office close to our home back in 2000. And so when we bought our first building, it was literally right down the road from the house that we had purchased and that we were going to be moving into. We were renovating it and finishing it at the time, and it was literally right down the road. So we just looked for sale signs, and a lot of this stuff, if the real estate has good bones, then it's fixable. And what I always tell people is that some of this stuff is so inexpensive. We've picked up real estate as low as $25 a square foot. You can't build that anything close to that. And so now you can find assets between $25 a square foot and $70 a square foot. It's almost a no-brainer to buy that stuff. So when you're looking at retail, office, because you can give such inexpensive rent rates that it's easy to market and lease up with not just national tenants, but even mom and pop tenants, because you don't have a lot in. You have room for value add to be able to go in and do cosmetic stuff to the exteriors to make the asset look a lot more attractive. Okay, so that's one way that you guys can actually source deal flow, is just by driving around, and it's typically right underneath your nose. In every single city across the United States, there's been distressed assets. Now, where we typically look is not in areas that stay and remain distressed. We want to see some type of upside. Like where we lived, it was the outskirts of town. It was the old Route 66. And so there wasn't a lot of renovation going on, but there was a lot of new homes going up. So we knew if people were buying and that home prices were going up at that time, that real estate in itself was actually desirable in that area. And so one of the big things that we saw after was the fact that we knew people were moving into that area demographically, and it was higher income earners in the area that we lived in prior, okay? And so we knew that retail would revamp, and a lot of what happened is it's Route 66, so there was actually a lot of opportunity that the city and municipality were giving for redevelopment. So we didn't have to go and search very far. So in every city across the United States, if you go by like old town areas or downtown areas, or you go into predominant highways in thoroughways that actually cut across the city, there's a lot of distressed assets. And in those distressed assets, there's opportunity. Some of that stuff might need to be leveled, but if you can find, let's say for example, you're looking for land, and you're looking for land to develop a multifamily apartment complex, or you're looking for land to be able to go in and build a data center or something in that nature. And you can't find land that's inexpensive because everybody has caught on to the fact that things are developing in that city. And where most people run into a threshold of it halts them is when they go in and they're looking for a good deal on an asset, but everybody and their mother has already been in there and they're looking for the exact same thing. But they're looking for these strategic pieces of land, or these strategic properties. Well, have you ever thought about repositioning some of these properties, finding old distressed assets where you can go in and buy the distressed asset for so inexpensive that it's less than buying the land if it was gutted? And what happens is a lot of these distressed assets actually distress the land value in itself. And so what ends up happening is that because the asset still sits on the land value actually diminishes, and you're actually picking it up for less than you would be buying it for if the land was just vacant. So in those instances, that's exactly what we do. We purchase the asset and we land up leveling that asset, or we just strategically reposition it. Okay, so you're looking for a couple different things in that regards. Now, that's distressed assets. Now, how do you find these assets in prime areas? Okay, well, relationships are huge, ladies and gentlemen. What I always tell people is get a bandwidth in a network so close to you within the industry that you're partaking in, that you have resources all around you in your phone through contacts that you've met and people that you know, their emails and their phone numbers. Now, where do you find these people? I'll tell you, we do a lot of, in early years, we were doing a lot of investor meetups. Not only a lot of investor meetups, but we do a lot of little masterminds and we do stuff, but we're strategic. We don't go in and we don't network with people that are way out in left field from the industry that we're working on. And every time I show up to some type of meetup, gathering, mastermind, I'm always very strategic as to what I'm looking for. For sake of example, this past weekend, we spent some time where I was, we were part of the Tim Tebow Foundation. I'll just give you guys this as a simple theoretical example of what you guys are looking for. Well, they landed up inviting all of us that had donated over $10,000 or more to the Tim Tebow Foundation out for a special weekend. And they called it a mastermind, but like Grant Cardone was there, P. Vargas was there. We had Chris Crone was there. I was there. There was quite a few of us that were there. Well, my whole thing was, I know that Chris and I do some very similar stuff, and I knew that he had some fun. So I went in this week and I said, you know what? I'm going to really hyper focus and be intentional about really hanging out with Chris, because Chris and I can do some business together. So that was the whole point of my whole weekend. And I was very strategic because I needed to find out how he was doing his capital raises for some of his single family dwellings so we could utilize it for our multifamily development dwellings. And so I was very strategic. And so when you guys go in, you guys are meeting with people, sometimes you guys go in and have a great time, you talk to people, but you leave without anything tangible. And so I'm very, very intentional when I meet with people and I do these meetups, because I'm busy. I got a family and I don't want to leave home unless I have to, because there's so much of this stuff that happens out there. Most people don't exercise it correctly. They get caught up in what I call the ether, right? Like, you know, when you go under for medical purposes and you take ether to put you under and you start feeling kind of giggly and funny, that's why people go to these conferences, is they go in under the ether getting on their hiatus about how exciting and how emotionally good it felt to be there. Who cares about that stuff? I'm looking for real estate. I'm looking for deal flow. I'm looking to be able to strategically find good deals on real estate. So when I go in, I'm very intentional, being able to go in and find strategic partners that can help me. So I'm looking for deal flow from people that have resources that I don't have. Now, maybe you have capital, but and maybe you have capital and those people there don't, but they have deal flow. So now you bring your capital to the table. Or maybe you don't have capital or deal flow, but you have other people that have deal flow and capital that are at those places. You can find both capital and deal flow from being there. And most of these people lack in something big, and it's called confidence. And some of you guys lack from confidence. So one of the big things I always tell people is go in and get around the right people and start planting seeds with real estate brokers, with investors, with wholesalers, and people that have bandwidth that you don't have in order to be able to get the word out there of what you're looking for. Now, what you do need to know is you have to have some type of business model. One of the biggest mistakes most people make when they go to these meetups is they really don't even know what they themselves are looking for. And you may not know what you're looking for. So create a business model of stuff that you think you're looking for. And so for sake of example, right now, the market is actually turning, and we're looking at a lot of value add assets that I said, you know what, let's just pick up some small assets, big assets. Let's not put a restriction on 20 units, anything between 20 units and 500 units. And let's go after everything, all right? And then I said, let's go after all the markets in the Warm Belt with the exception of a few other markets like Tennessee, Indiana, and let's look at stuff in Oklahoma, and also Kansas, right? It's some of the markets that people forget about. And then I said, so I had like 11 different states that I was looking in, and we had, in those 11 states, we had over 20 different cities. And so out of that, we don't know exactly where we're going to land up, but we start throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And so our bandwidth in the beginning is larger. So what I tell people is have a business plan that's a little bit larger, and then as you start getting deal flow, start narrowing down on the cities as you start learning them from the deal flow you're getting. Now, some of the time that you guys spend getting this is going to definitely be what you feel to be a waste of time, but it's not, because you're going to be learning. You're going to be learning markets. You're going to be learning, you're going to have the underwriting. You're going to get the experience. You're going to learn those markets inside and out. And so when you have that, you have actual tangibility that most people don't have because they're not willing to put in the time, effort, and energy to find these resources. And so I always tell people, deal flow is easy to get. It's just a matter of what you're willing to do to get that deal flow. And one of the big things is some of it takes a little bit of legwork, okay? Now, so you drive. So one of the ways is you drive in your local market, and that's how you find some deal flow. Second thing is you go to meetups and you find people that are in the industry doing what you're doing, and you network. And you never know who you don't know, who you meet there knows that you don't know. And so you always want to have a bandwidth that you're planting seeds with people, because all of a sudden randomly you start getting deal flow from these people, okay? Now here's how, when I go into a new market, this is how I strategically position myself to be able to go in and gain relationships from large commercial brokers, okay? Now this goes for residential and commercial. You need, in both residential and commercial, I will not work with anybody unless they have a minimum of 10 years of professional experience in the market that I'm searching in. And here's why. If they have less than 10 years of professional experience, what lands up happening is they don't know the market well enough for you to buy in. Because a lot of times with big commercial brokers, they're mentored into the industry. They just don't throw them out there as a multifamily broker. They don't just throw them out there as an industrial broker. They don't just throw them out there as a retail broker or a land broker in the commercial sector. All the big companies, when you go to like Berkadia, you go to like Marcus and Millichap, you go to Colis, you go to CBRE, and all the big institutional brokerage firms, is that they have professionals working for them that understand those markets inside and out. They won't just throw somebody green behind the ears out to go out and service you. They'll be interning behind somebody who actually has the experience you know, like, and need. And so what I do is I do an outreach to those people first. And so it's as easy as getting on Google and saying, I need industrial brokers in Chicago, Illinois, or in surrounding areas, or I need multifamily brokers in Phoenix, Arizona, or then I go in and I start getting a bandwidth of a lot of commercial brokers that are out there. And then what I do is I go in and say, hey, I'm going to be in town And I tell them, and a lot of times my admins do this, but in early years I did this. And I would say, hi, my name is Jerome. I'm with J. Jacob Enterprises. I'm a developer out in the Southwest. We're looking at strategically moving into your local market. And I'm going to be in town on Tuesdays and Thursdays, this coming Tuesday and this coming Thursday, from Tuesday through Thursday. And I want to see what your availability looks like so that we can sit down and go over our business model and see if we can do some business together. And then I tell them I have availability, and I give them times and make it look like I'm extremely busy, because if I don't make it look like I'm extremely busy, then they're not going to want to sit down with me. So you got to turn the tables a little bit. I know mentally a lot of people think that when they go in and talk to a big commercial broker that they're busy themselves and that you're trying to get a bandwidth of their time available. I go in with the attitude that I'm friggin' busy. And look, you're going to want to do business with me. And because of that, and I've done this since I was broke, ladies and gentlemen, because I was mentored into that. My mentor told me, you have to be on the phone. He said, when you become so important that people understand how busy you are, that is when you'll become successful. And so if you go in there and you give them a bandwidth going, hey, I'm available all 3 days from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., guess what's going to happen? They're not going to want to meet with you because, one, you don't have no other appointments on your book. So I always limit it to 2 appointment times. And I say, look, I either have availability at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, or I can meet you at 11 o'clock on Wednesday. Which of those 2 appointments fits your schedule best? And then I let them tell me. And they say, man, I got a 10:30. I don't know if I'll be done by 11. Is there any way you can move it to 11:30? And then I tell them, you know what? Let me make a phone call. I'll make that work. If you can make 11:30 work, I'll make a phone call and I'll push my 11 o'clock back 30 minutes so that, or my 12 o'clock back or whatever it is, and I'll make it sound like I'm pushing an appointment back to get them in. And it's all confidence, ladies and gentlemen. And so when you go in and you talk to these big commercial brokers, what happens is a lot of people are biting their tongue and they're stumbling over themselves. And then what I go in with is I go in with a business model. So like, for sake of example, when I met my good friend Caleb and I met my good friend Zach over at Marcus and Millchap down in Fort Lauderdale several years back, I remember walking in and I was way out of my element in some of the asset classes that Zach was looking at, because these were all Class A and they were all like $100 million assets. But when I met with Mark, I called him and I said, hey, Mark, we're moving into the Florida market and I want to meet with you. I'm limited on my time because I'm only there for 2 days. I got other brokers I'm meeting with, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to do some business with us because I've heard some really good things about you. I understand you were the broker that Grant Cardone actually utilized when he bought his first portfolio in Florida, and Grant and I are friends, and I want to be able to sit down with you. Okay, now that's just like one broker, but I would just do something random like that. And so I make it sound like I'm giving them an opportunity. Now this was before Grant and I were even friends, but I've done business with Grant, so I just sat back and said, hey, yeah, we're friends. We're close enough friends. What do you consider a friend, right? It's all relative. It's all within arm's length, right? And now Grant and I are friends, but I'll tell you guys that it was we were more transactional friends back in the time that I met Zach, but I just leveraged that. I leveraged the fact, if you shake in his hand and say, hey, Grant, how are you, my friend? Now he's your friend, right? And you went to a conference. Exercise that. Utilize that for leverage of confidence to be able to sit back and get the bandwidth that you need to execute and sit down with these commercial brokers. Then when I go in with these commercial brokers, I don't bullshit them. I sit back and go, hey, look. And right away, Zach referred me over to Caleb, because I sat down with Zach in his office and I said, hey, we're looking for boutique hotels. We're also looking for distressed hotels that we can reposition and into multifamily. And it landed up falling into the value add sector. And Zach landed up saying, we spent about an hour together. We laughed, we told stories, we created a relationship together. But the biggest thing I gained from him is the trust and the relationship, because I had a business model. It was the wrong business model for Zach to exercise, but it was the right business model to be able to relate, to get a relationship with him. So now when I call Zach, he knows who I am. And I go, yo, bro, I'm looking for real estate again, and we're actually looking for value add stuff again, and we're looking for Class A distressed assets. If anything comes to the market that you know from any of your clients before it goes to market, keep me in mind, because I'm in a position right now where we have capital and we're buying. You know, and so then he keeps me in mind, and all of a sudden I get a little call like I did today from my good friend down at Bracadia up in Tucson. I landed up getting a deal that's off market. It goes it's going to go live tomorrow. We're gonna be able to tie this sucker up if we buy it by tomorrow afternoon. If we don't have it by tomorrow at 5 o'clock, the next day on Friday it goes live. But it's an off-market deal. And I got that through relationships. And the biggest things, ladies and gentlemen, is it's because I did exactly what I'm telling you guys. I exercised relationships. Now, once I create these relationships and I was referred over to Caleb, Caleb was the broker that I actually landed up working with. I've never bought anything from Caleb, but Caleb knows exactly who I am. And at some point in time, he knows that we'll more than likely do a deal together. What happened is the pandemic hit. We never landed up doing a deal. I pulled out of Florida not knowing what the pandemic was going to do. Our business model went back to our original business model, which is ground up new construction, which is what we've been doing forever. And I halted on a lot of the value add stuff because I thought the market was going to crumble sooner than it has. Now that the market's crumbled, guess who I'm in contact with again? Caleb. And so he knows who I am. Not only that, but I'm also in contact with my good friends over at the Bracadia office up in Tucson. And here's the thing, is that when I go into Bracadia, I landed up calling the brokers down there back about 3 months ago, and I said, hey bro, we're back in the market. We're going to start buying value add again. I know I haven't been buying value add in quite some time, but because of the market conditions, I'm hopeful that we can find some better deals on value add right now because of the market compression, and we'd like to underwrite some projects. So then randomly today, I was down getting allergy shots this morning, and my phone rings. Guess who it is? Bracadia. And they call me up and they say, hey Jerome, I got a deal for you. I think you'll like this one. It's 300 units. It's value add. And I think this thing's going to go to market after tomorrow. So if you're interested, get us a bid in, and I'm going to send you the entire package, underwrite it, and get us something back tomorrow. And then I texted back and I said, bro, can you write up the offer for me if I can underwrite the numbers? He said, absolutely. So now tonight I'll be sitting down underwriting this whole deal, and I'll make sure that he goes to market with that, and we have an offer in before the end of day tomorrow. And he gave me insight on what he thinks it's going to sell for, and he gave me the price of what it's going to go to market for and what they think it's going to sell for by tomorrow. There's only 3 of us bidding on this project, because only 3 of us know about it. It's all relationship based. Is going to be about $3 million under what the list price is going to be. And this thing will sell for every bit of list price, if not over list price, just because of its location, its cap rate, and the condition of it. Okay, and this is a deal that came in from a developer like myself that also buys value add, that is utilizing the upside of this value add project to be able to come in and finish off his new construction developments because his bandwidth got restricted, just like ours has. But he got stuck in more projects, okay? So anyways, FYI, that's where some of these relationships come from. Now, let's talk about websites, ladies and gentlemen. And before I do the websites, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this content, you want more content just like this, then click and subscribe to our YouTube channel and pound that thumbs up button. Give us a little bit of love. Let us know that you like the content. If you don't like the content, then smash that thumbs down button. Let us know why you don't like the content so we can improve it for you. But just don't do nothing. Do something. Smash that thumbs up button, click and subscribe, okay? Let's see, we have a quick question before I go over the websites. Do you ever build multifamily properties in Florida? I have some pieces of land that are currently off market. How do I reach you? Yeah, just email my office, info at jeromemaldonado.com. Okay, info at jeromemaldonado.com. Now, we get a lot of deal flow in Florida because we have a lot of people in our inner circle. TC, I'll tell you, the best way to get my attention is proximity, man. If you're working with us in our inner circle, it's advantageous to you because of the community that we built, but it also gets my attention more because I've become more inclined to paying attention to that because we get so much deal flow off of social media. It's real tough. So you'll reach out to my team. My team will put you probably on the phone with somebody from my team to find out a little bit more about your project. Okay, now, websites, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the best websites that you guys can find, that you guys can do skip tracing on, that you guys can find distressed properties on. And this is both residential and commercial properties. What's up, Michael? Good to see you. Marshall, good to see you. Where in Oklahoma are you interested in? Yeah, we're open to Tulsa and Oklahoma City. Those are really the only 2 markets in Oklahoma that we're interested in. If we're even interested in Oklahoma, it's a market that we're exploring. I think Oklahoma is actually a silent market. It's just as good as Texas. Unfortunately, rent rates are really low there, but I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity in Oklahoma. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, Michael. Mr. Reyes. Okay. Let's see here. Websites, guys, write these down. These are the websites that you guys are going to want to utilize, okay? And these are my 2 favorite ones, okay? I love RealFlow, okay? Now, RealFlow for property prospecting is probably one of the best, and you can white label it as well. So if you guys are in the real estate sector, you want to white label it, there's RealFlow is a really good website. Now the second one is one that's called ProStream. ProStream is extremely good as well, and it updates really good. It's really progressive, and it's really coming to the market, and it's really in line with RealFlow. And so those two, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to find off-market deals, expired deals, both in residential and commercial, these are both websites that will also do skip tracing for you. They'll do emailing for you. They'll do mass emailing. There is some subscription costs to these websites. But if you can automate the CRMs to do them automatedly, you don't even need a full-time employee. So even if you landed up spending a little bit of money to automate this, and if you have any type of computer genius at all in you, and it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be like a computer guru, just somebody who has basic experience, it's all turnkey. And you can utilize these websites, set them up where you can actually automate them with a little bit of CRM software, and you can have this stuff auto-generated where if it fits the parameters that you set up, those people get letters sent out to them. And then your only expense is the mailings that go out to these folks. And so, but you don't have employee expenses. This software will reduce your staff by probably up to 3 people, if not more, okay? And give you the bandwidth of deal flow from those websites that you can't get anywhere else, okay? Now remember, they're still active deals. They're on a website, right? So there's other people like us that are looking at this stuff. So it's just one additional source to look at when you're looking for deal flow. But if you just joined us and you didn't watch this video from the beginning, then I went through multiple other ways to find and create deal flow that I've utilized and done over the years. So go back, rewatch the video, and then comment below #repeat so that we know we went back and you rewatched the whole video, and then comment and come in with questions and comments below on what we can do to improve the video or what you have questions on that can help you specifically. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for joining. God bless you guys. Go out and compound your success. Keep crushing it. If you guys haven't already signed up for our big announcement and our launch on Saturday, this Saturday, the 24th, then go to my Instagram or go here on YouTube and look me up. And there's links in my bio to register for the free training that we're going to be doing on Saturday. And I'm going to teach you guys how to position yourself strategically all the way to 2025 so you can stay alive in your investment career to 1925. I'm showing my age, to 2025. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, register for Saturday's event. I'll see you there on Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time this Saturday. Huge announcement. You guys are going to want to be there. I'm going to give you guys some massive discount deals on some up and coming stuff that we have coming out in November, and that way you guys come in and crush it with us. Nonetheless, God bless you guys. Click and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Smash that thumbs up button. We'll see you guys on Saturday. For those of you guys who join us on our live announcement and training on Saturday morning. Otherwise, God bless and compound your success.